Hey guys, my name is Steve and welcome to AEAC Vlog. If you're new around here, that's cool, me too. This is actually a sister channel to my primary YouTube channel, the Airgun Exploration and Advancement channel, otherwise known as AEAC Home. There you will get full in-depth product reviews and event coverage on everything airgun, but this channel here is my time to slow down with you guys a little bit and bring you in on some learning moments as I get these products for review and I discover, learn, and approach them in getting them ready for their debut over on AEAC Home. But this here, this Weihrauch brake barrel Springer out of Germany, it's been kind of a couple of surreal days playing with it, and I'll tell you why. When you think back to the history of airgunning in the globe and in the United States, you can't help but think of companies like Weihrauch and Diana and BSA, because if you wind the clock back to the 1890s, okay, all of these companies were making powder burning rifles. Weihrauch here was very well known for their 22 rimfires, their side-by-side and over-under shotguns, their high-power center-fire rifles. And then, World War I and World War II came, and these companies were kind of distracted, had their eye taken off the ball. In a lot of cases, their organizations were disbanded or pulled apart. Weihrauch is a very good example. Post-World War II, Germany was occupied for a time by the Soviet Union, and they were prohibited from manufacturing any kind of arms, air guns included. But this is a company, Weihrauch, that went ahead and made some air guns with smooth bore barrels because they were allowed to do so. But in time, that too was lifted, and the Weihrauch company, Mr. Herman Weihrauch, his wife, and his three sons went full speed ahead manufacturing air guns. And you may have heard of like the HW95, the HW35, the 50. These are guns that all had a huge presence in Europe, kind of in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. And, eventually they were imported into the United States. Now, you may have heard of a guy by the name of Dr. Robert Beeman, right? We all know Beeman Precision Air Rifles. Mr. Beeman was very in tune to the quality and the success Weihrauch had been having in Germany and Europe, and his family started importing these rifles into the U.S. and selling them under the Beeman name. So if you were owning or playing with a rifle that time called a Beeman, the RX series, the R series, it was made by Weihrauch in Germany. Now, there was a time in the 90s when Weihrauch also did some work with Fiat in England, specifically on the gas rams to replace the mechanical springs in these rifles. But Dr. Beeman is really the guy that took the Weihrauch rifle, and it started to rain again, took the Weihrauch rifle and kind of brought it up to the next level for us here in the United States in terms of look, feel, power, and really put brake barrel air guns on the map in our country. And in playing with this thing, I couldn't help but constantly be thinking of that. I mean, how many times, like you guys, I've been doing this since I was 12, 13, 14 years old. And how many times have you heard of Grandpa passing the Weihrauch down to his grandkids that was 20, 30, 40, and 50 years old? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to say anything to take away from you guys or any of the other brands, but I don't really hear that story with other brands, and it ain't like a couple of times. This is a very common thread in airgun land that is tied to this Weihrauch name. And like you guys, I have spent years on GTA and Yellow, and I went through my Springer phase where I read about that stuff constantly, and you always heard people saying, and always were reading it on these forums, people would say, hands down, I've owned a lot of Springers, I own a lot of Springers, and none other is better than the Weihrauch. And at the time, I didn't give it a whole lot of thought because they kind of looked a little bit antiquated to me, and new manufacturers were coming out with lighter and smoother and faster and all this other stuff, and I tended to focus there. But what really kind of got me going with this brand is a couple of months back, I was in Phoenix, Arizona, at Airguns of Arizona. And don't get me wrong, I had reviewed a couple of Weihrauch brake barrels for them over the years, the HW30 Deluxe and the HW30. And that place was chock full of this brand. I mean, they had these brake barrels everywhere. They had pre-charged pneumatics everywhere. And I walked in that place and I'm thinking, well, you know, I kind of would like to talk about Weihrauchs, you know, in front of my guys, my followers. Would you be okay with sending me some for review? And they were like, hell yeah, what do you want? So I asked for an HW95. They sent one of those. I asked for an HW50, and I asked for an HW110 pre-charged pneumatic. And they sent all three of them, and all three of them are here for review. And I'm just so excited to be able to share these with you guys because, as I said, to circle back, I can't think of another brand that has the common thread of being tied to so many stories of Grandpa handing it down and people saying, hands down, this is the best air gun I've ever put my hands on. And that was really interesting to me as a reviewer because I get to put my hands on a lot of air guns, but admittedly, really just over the last couple years. So when I first picked this thing up, I was like, whoa, that's kind of heavy because I'm used to, again, reviewing faster, lighter, you know, smoother. You know, this thing weighs about 9 pounds with a scope on it. And I had tested synthetic stocked brake barrels that were in the 6-7 pound range, right? And then I go to cock it. And it's kind of like crunchy, 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 crunchy. Because there's a mechanical spring in here. And I'm used to shooting and playing with these like gas ram that cock and shoot like butter. And then I went and shot it. And I got the twang and I got the buzz. And I'm used to that little snick you get with the gas ram with some of the other brands. And I started thinking to myself, well, why is it better, right? Which, you know, I think is a very natural question. And I kind of doubted that in the beginning. But as I spent a couple of days playing with this, I kind of just realized it, right? It's a combination of the heritage. It's a combination of the extreme high quality. It's a combination of the heft because that actually contributes to accuracy and longevity. And you take all of that, you put it together, you marry it to the, I think these are about $390 shipped price tag, right? And you marry it to this trigger, and then kind of the light bulb goes off. You're like, okay, I get it. It's accurate, it's reasonably priced, it's incredibly refined in its quality, and it's probably never going to break or let me down. Now, I don't want to say anything to take away from the other brands or to hurt your guys' feelings because I have appreciated, as you've seen in the reviews, and I've enjoyed shooting those guns, but I really feel like in my heart of hearts that I am sensing the common thread of why people say that this is by far their favorite gun. But this trigger here, for me, the trigger is kind of like the heart and soul of the gun. And I have experienced a trigger like this in none of the other lines of air guns. Now, I said I've played with the HW30 and it was the same. But as the power level comes up, the triggers tend to get less good. But this is called the record trigger, and it's kind of famous, right? Out of the box, it broke at about 2.2 pounds. And with a little bit of adjustment, the owner's manual tells you how to do it. You can reduce that brake weight. Now, I was able to get it down to less than 1.5 pounds by simply going counterclockwise about 1 3/4 turns on this screw here at the bottom of the trigger. And it's not just that, right? It's the ultralight first stage pull. When it comes up against that second stage stop, it's like it's sitting on the tip of a diamond. And with a little bit more pressure, it's like you just cracked a pane of glass in half, and off it goes. Like this trigger on this brake barrel, I kid you not, this is every bit as nice as the triggers you'll see on $2,000 pre-charged pneumatics, and you can get it as light. Something specific to this trigger is it's modular. It can be completely removed from the chassis of this gun, and it can be adjusted off and reset off the gun, but there's no need to do that. But if you want to get them really, really light, you know, to go and compete with them or whatever, you absolutely can. But that's really enough on the history. I don't know if I'm getting through, and hopefully I am. I don't know how to convey exactly what I've been feeling the last few days, but you know, I kind of get it now. It's heavy, it's really good quality, it has an amazing trigger, and it's probably going to last forever. and it's made in Germany, and it has a very reasonable price tag, and it comes with good warranty here in the United States through Airguns of Arizona, and I'm really excited to share the full review with you. But as far as the last couple of days learning, this is an HW95 Luxus. Weihrauch makes more powerful than this. They make bigger than this. This one's about 43 inches long. As I said, you're right at about 9 pounds, a little bit more with the scope. This one's in 2.2. And I put like every pellet I own through this gun, and I found that at 25 yards it really honed in on 4 pellets, okay? One of them was H&N Sniper Magnum 18 grain. The other was Predator's GTO alloy pellet, the 11.75 grain. I will venture to say it liked these 2 pellets the best. And I found that interesting because that's different than what I read online. So if I don't know if people just haven't discovered that yet. Even Airguns of Arizona was like, really? That's what it liked best? We found that it normally likes the JSB 16 grains, and it normally likes the H&N Field Target trophies. Well, for me, not this one, okay? But it also likes these JSB 13.73 grain match wad cutters. And it even liked these H&N Field Target trophy greens, which are shy over 10 grains. But it didn't quite like these as much at 25 yards as it did these. So I'm kind of eager to get it out into the country next week and stretch its legs out to 50 and see what happens. Now, circling back to power, as I mentioned, this isn't the most powerful. They make an HW100 and an HW97, which generate more power. This one kind of comes in at 16 to 18 foot-pounds-ish by my tests with the lab radar. It was pushing the 18-grain snipers to about 630 foot per second average, and it was pushing the GTO 11.75 grains to about 815 foot per second average. Okay, what's interesting about that is it was actually generating more power with the lighter pellet. So with the 12 grain, I'm making like 18 foot-pounds-ish, and with the 18 grain, I was making like 16 foot-pounds-ish. And to take that a step further, what's really cool about that lab radar, and you can catch this in the vlog I did before this one, it actually uses Doppler radar to measure the speed of the projectile from the muzzle all the way down to the target, and they were both striking the target at about 13 foot-pounds of energy. Now, to me, that goes against popular thinking, where everyone commonly says that and feels like the heavier pellet carries more energy downrange and so on and so forth. Now, that may not be so at 50 yards, and I'm definitely going to get to the bottom of that next week. But what's even more interesting about that is when I was in Utah a couple of weeks back for the Rocky Mountain Airgun Challenge, they had world-famous Delta Force sniper, the actual guy in the Black Hawk Down helicopter that they made the movie off of, giving a training seminar to us air gunners. You can actually catch that entire seminar over on AEAC Home, by the way. He was saying that the lighter projectile will always be influenced less by wind and gravity because it moves the fastest, or the fastest moving projectile. Excuse me, I think is what he said. The fastest moving projectile will be the most accurate typically because it's a mathematical function of time, less exposure to wind and less exposure to gravity. And so I'm really curious to see if the lighter weight GTO will outperform the heavier sniper out at 50 yards. And like I said, I will get to the bottom of that. So, but yeah, you can buy this in this 95 version in a couple of different trims. This one here is called the Luxus. What distinguishes the Luxus is, it's a beechwood stock, by the way, that's stained walnut, is this fine checkering up here on the fore end, and this this metal muzzle brake cocking aid, anti-muzzle flip thing on the front. It doesn't do any kind of moderation, but as I said, the gun's not loud. It kind of, you do get the boing and the twang because there is a spring in there. Maybe that'll settle down over time. I don't know. I've only got about 150 rounds through it. And I will tell you, with all 4 of these pellets, it's shooting dimers at 25 yards consistently. With all of the other brands that I tested, it was between 1 and 2 inches, or it would put 3 on a dime and it would fling the other 2. So I've omitted them from the final review, but that's kind of how I do that. But that's really, I think, all I want to share with you today on the HW95. You can expect more Weihrauch here on the channel in the future, this fall, I would say, but we're going to get it kicked off with this one. And as always, guys and gals, thank you for spending your time with me. I very much appreciate it. And if you're kind of new to AEAC, you can check us out online at aeaconline.com. I've got all sorts of interesting information in there for you, as well as it gives you an idea of what's coming next. So if you want to know what we're up to and what we're about to be working on, you can head over there. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram to kind of know what I'm working on day to day. You can look forward to these vlogs, as I said, with every new review product that comes through before I give it its full review over on AEAC Home. And you can follow me over on Airgun Nation as well, as I like to commune with the community over there quite a lot. So with that, thank you. I'm Steve Shalley, and I hope to be seeing you again very soon.